Sinomach HI International Equipment Co., Ltd. Operation and Maintenance Instructions for Wheel Loader 966. Dear customers, welcome to buy Sinomach Wheel Loader 966. For your better using experience, we will introduce you the operation and maintenance instructions of Wheel Loader 966 in every detail. Sinomach is committed to bringing you the most comfortable working experience and maximum benefits. This video includes following 4 chapters. Chapter 1 Machine Structure. Chapter 2 Safety Instruction. Chapter 3 Operational Instruction. Chapter 4 Maintenance Instruction. Chapter 1 Machine Structure. Nameplate. Chassis number. Front frame. Rear frame. Front axle. Brake. Rear axle. Brake. Boom. Rocker arm. Bucket. Bucket teeth. Counterweight. Boom cylinder. Boom cylinder limit solenoid valve. Dump cylinder. Dump cylinder limit solenoid valve. Weighing system. Battery. Engine cover. Cabin. Operating lever for speed. Pilot operating handle. Instrument panel. Frame lock. Lower frame hinge. Steering cylinder. Upper frame hinge. Steering. Air brake valve. Air storage tank. Drain valve. Air pre-filter. Exhaust pipe. Hydraulic control valve. Flow amplifying valve. Limit valve. Pilot supply valve. Accelerator pedal. Brake pedal. Transmission. Torque converter. Engine. Working steering pilot triple pump. Central electrical control box. Hydraulic oil radiator. Transmission oil radiator. Water tank. Parking brake. Main power switch. Chapter 2 Safety Instruction. Do not change the machine configuration without permission or identification from our technical team. Sinomach is not responsible for the safety problem or economic loss caused by that. Carefully read the operation manual. Recognize safety information and follow operation and maintenance instructions. Understand the caution and safety signals. Check and inspect machine before startup. Do all the preparations. Keep a safe distance from the loader boom from being struck by falling objects. Keep hands and arms clear of frame hinge to avoid crushing hazard. Safely hoist the position of the loader. Keep a safe distance from the back of the loader to avoid collision accidents. Keep your hands off the rotating fan to avoid shearing hazard. Watch out when entering the loader by steps to prevent slipping, tripping and falling. Sound the horn before reversing or operating the loader to make sure there is no person in the working area. Avoid overhauling and maintaining the vehicle with the engine running. Turn off the power when overhauling the engine and electrical system. When the loader is driving, no passenger shall be carried in any place except the cabin. Reduce the driving speed while steering. Sudden steering or slowdown is not allowed. Try to avoid turning the loader on slopes. Drive slowly in rainy, snowy, and other bad weather conditions. No taxiing when going downhill, in the neutral position of the transmission, prevent engine stall. Prevent to drive fast while loading or unloading materials. Keep the material balanced in the bucket when grappling or shoveling. Prevent the transportation of materials when the bucket is raised to the highest position. Put stoppers under tires when stopping on a slope. Always turn off the power switch after working. Be sure to turn off this power switch during transportation, inspection, and maintenance. Chapter 3 Operational Instruction. Check before starting up. Check bucket and loader frame weld joint for cracks. Please pay attention to cracks if any in the upper and lower limit blocks of the bucket. Check oil tube for aging cracks. Check underneath loader for leakage of coolant, oil or water. Look for cracks or bumps on tires and check tire pressure. Low tire pressure leads to insufficient loading capacity and shortened working life. High tire pressure leads to more violent vibration and heavier tire abrasion. Check tire bolts if any loosen happened. Check that the cabin windows are in good condition and clean. Check coolant level. Release internal pressure before opening water tank. Check engine oil level. Confirm whether the engine oil is sufficient. Check transmission oil level and ensure it approaches to the upper scale mark on dipstick. Observe the diesel fuel meter. Check if fuel is sufficient. Use filter screen before refueling and try to fill up the fuel tank to reduce water condensation. Discharge water in air tank. Open the drain valve at the bottom of air tank and tighten the valve after drainage. Notice, if the water in air tank is not discharged as required, brake performance will be impacted or invalidated. Check that operating lever for transmission is in neutral position. Ensure the bucket is in the lowest position on ground. Check the position and cleanness of the rear view mirror. After starting, put in the starting key and turn the key clockwise to connect starter motor and start the engine. Starting time is normally less than 10 seconds. If the engine does not start within 10 seconds, wait for 1 minute and repeat the starting process. If the engine still not started after 5 attempts, look for the cause and try again after troubleshooting. After engine started, gradually press the accelerator to preheat the engine at 1200 RPM and pressurize the air tank. Precautions when starting. When the flywheel of the engine and the starter motor have not completely stopped rotating, do not combine to start again. Otherwise it may damage the starter motor gear and flywheel ring gear. Don't travel at high speed or at full load when the engine water temperature is below 55 degrees Celsius or oil temperature is lower than 45 degrees Celsius, especially in winter. Don't cut off the power switch while the engine is running, otherwise the generator will be damaged. Don't run up the engine at a low RPM for a long time. In cold regions, it's necessary to preheat hydraulic oil after starting up the engine and repeatedly raise the boom and tip the bucket to warm up the loader. Meanwhile, the engine must not run at high speed. Description of indicator devices. Warning. Preheating. Engine warning. Low oil pressure warning. Abnormal charging warning. Headlight high beam. Hydraulic oil temperature warning. Oil water separation warning. Parking braking. Coolant temperature warning. Low brake pressure warning. Low transmission pressure warning. Oil temperature gauge for torque converter outlet. Normal working temperature is 80 to 110 degrees Celsius. The highest working temperature in a short period cannot exceed 120 degrees Celsius. When the temperature is close to the highest temperature, lower down the engine rotation speed or stop the working and wait the oil temperature lower down to normal. Engine water temperature gauge. Normal temperature of water from engine cylinder head is 60 to 95 degrees Celsius and a maximum temperature is 99 degrees Celsius. Take thermal insulation measures when the weather is too cold. Air pressure gauge. Normal air pressure in the air tank is 0.4 to 0.73 MPa. When the air pressure is lower than 0.4 MPa, the brake will be ineffective. Don't operate the loader until the pressure rises. If the air pressure doesn't increase, stop the loader immediately for inspection. Engine fuel level gauge. It indicates the oil level inside the engine fuel tank. Refuel the tank when the needle points to the red area. Charging warning light. When this light turns on, it indicates an abnormal charging status. Hazard light button. Pressing this button causes the left and right turn signals to flash simultaneously, serving as a warning signal. Washer spray button. Pressing this button activates the windshield washer spray, and the switch automatically resets. Pilot valve handle lock button. Pressing this button activates the solenoid valve of the pilot valve, disabling handle movement. Transmission manual/automatic mode switch button. When the button is in its default position, the transmission operates in manual mode. Switching to Auto 1 mode enables automatic shifting between first and fourth gear. Switching to Auto 2 mode enables automatic shifting between second and fourth gear. When selecting an automatic mode, the gear shift lever must also be turned to D gear, and in automatic mode, the transmission always starts in second gear. Transmission power cutoff button. Press the button and step on the brake pedal to cut off the transmission power. The orange indicator light on the instrument panel is illuminated. Check the indicator signal for steering lamp. Check the horn honking. Check the color of exhaust gas. Check the steering wheel and inspect the reliability and airtightness of the steering system. Keep the rotation speed of engine is higher than 1000 rpm to ensure the steering performance. Check the lighting system. Traveling. Release the parking brake and operate the control lever to raise the bucket 40 cm above the ground. The gear shift lever is located at the lower left of the steering wheel. First gear is used for material loading operations. Second gear is used for quick switching between forward and reverse during the loading process. Third gear is used for fast movement when relocating the machine at the worksite. D gear, fourth gear, is used for high-speed driving on well-paved roads. Additionally, selecting D gear in combination with the manual/automatic switch button allows the machine to operate in automatic mode. The wheel loader 966 adopts hydraulic transmission shift mechanism. Parking is not required when changing the speed stage. Do press the brake pedal before the loader changes the direction to move forward or reverse and release the brake after changing the direction. Otherwise the transmission system will be severely impacted or the clutch will be burnt out. Accelerator pedal. It controls the fuel supply quantity to engine. The engine is running at idling speed when the accelerator pedal is not depressed. When the accelerator pedal is stepped on, the engine speed increases as the fuel supply increases. Depress brake pedal to stop the loader and disconnect the transmission clutch. Meanwhile, the brake light illuminates. Note, don't use a handbrake while the loader is still traveling except for emergencies. Work operation. Work arm lift. Neutral position for work arm. Work arm lower. Float position for work arm. Bucket unloading. Neutral position for bucket. Bucket loading. Loader operation. While working with bucket, the loader should move straight into the material pile at first gear speed, rather than relying on inertia to charge into the material at high speed. Excavation and loading work. Lower the bucket as close as practical to the ground and create a 3° to 5° angle between the bottom of bucket and the ground. Turn the gear shift lever to second gear to move the machine forward. As the machine approaches the material pile, quickly press the gear shift lever inward, and the transmission will automatically switch to first gear. Once the bucket is inserted into the material pile, increase the throttle to continue cutting into the pile. At the same time, move the pilot handle quickly left and right in the bucket rollback position to ensure the bucket is as full as possible. After the bucket is fully loaded, return the pilot handle to the neutral position. Quickly shift the gear lever to reverse, and the transmission will automatically switch to reverse second gear, allowing the machine to quickly move away from the pile. If the transport distance is long, operate the pilot handle to lower the bucket to about 400 mm above the ground for optimal stability. If the loading truck is nearby, continue raising the boom to the appropriate unloading height as the machine exits the material pile. Transporting work. The wheel loader can perform transporting work in following conditions. When the road surface is too soft and the site is uneven and trucks cannot enter the stacking site. The transporting distance is within 500 m and it is a waste of time for driving a truck. During transporting process, tilt the bucket to the upper extreme position and maintain the bucket at the position of 400 mm above the ground. Loading materials to truck. Raise the loader boom so that the bucket is higher than the truck. The loader approaches the truck at first gear speed. Tread down the brake pedal when the bucket entering the unloading area. Push the control lever to the right to slowly unload the material into the truck bed. If materials stick to the bucket, pull the bucket control lever left and right to slightly shake the bucket to dump out remained materials. Pull back the bucket. The loader exits backwards, lower down the boom and start a second excavation and loading work. Notice: when dumping the material at a high position, do not lift the boom without retracting the bucket to avoid cylinder pull-out issues. After materials have been discharged and before the loader changes the driving direction from backward to forward, depress the brake first to prevent impacts to the transmission clutch. Shut down the loader. Reduce the engine speed and depress the brake pedal to parking the loader. Push the operating lever to neutral position. Release the brake pedal and pull up the hand brake lever. Reduce the engine speed to 800 to 1000 rpm. Keep it idling for 3 to 5 minutes and gradually cool the engine. Lay the working device flat on the ground and return all the operating levers to neutral position. Rotate the key to off position to shut down the engine. Turn off the mains power switch to cut off the power. Long-term storage. Clean and dry the loader. Dismantle the battery. Chapter 4 Maintenance Instruction. Periodic maintenance for engine air intake system. Maintain the air filter only when the engine stops. Check the air filter for loose connections. Loosen the clamp bolts. Take out the main air filter element. Blow it with compressed air along the reverse direction of folds from inside. The air pressure should be lower than 0.2 MPa. Don't clean the filter element with oil and water. Carefully check the main air filter element after maintenance. Replace the main air filter element if the filter paper is broken or the end cover rubber ring comes off. The safety function is the inner filter element of the air filter, it does not require maintenance. If the main filter element leaks, causing a lot of dust to adhere to the inner filter element, or when the main filter element needs to be replaced, please replace the inner filter together. Note when installing: make sure the ends of filter element are tightly sealed to prevent air leakage. Air filter enclosure must not be deformed. The air filter needs to be checked regularly every 50 hours. Maintain the main filter element and check the inner filter element. Maintain the air filter element after 5 times maintenances. Shorten the check and maintenance intervals for harsh work conditions. Periodic maintenance for fuel system. Wipe contaminations from the diesel filter enclosure and base. Dismantle the old diesel filter with the special tool. Clean the filter base. Make sure the sealing area has been cleaned. Otherwise it will lead to poor sealing. Apply clean diesel to the gasket of the new filter and fill the filter element with fuel. And install the new diesel filter on the filter element base. After the sealing gasket contacts the mounting base, tighten 1/2 to 3/4 turn with a special tool. Filling with fuel and removing air from the fuel system. Open the vent valve on the filter element base and operate the fuel supply pump. until the fuel flowing from the vent valve is continuous and without bubbles. Start the engine. If the engine cannot ignite, it indicates that air still remains in the tubes. It is necessary to continue filling fuel and vent air from the fuel system. Unscrew the high-pressure oil pipe on the injector of the high-pressure oil pump. Turn the engine until there are no bubbles in the outflow of fuel. The first maintenance of the new machine is at 50 working hours. Need to replace the diesel filter and fuel oil-water separator. Drain off the water inside the oil-water separator before starting your work every day. Replace the diesel filter and oil-water separator after 500 operating hours. Periodic maintenance for engine lubrication system. Shortly after stopping the engine and when the engine oil is still warm. Loosen the drain port bolt to drain the engine oil. Wipe contaminations from the oil filter base and enclosure. Dismount the old oil filter with the special tool. Clean the engine oil filter base. Make sure the sealing area has been cleaned. Otherwise it will lead to poor sealing. Apply clean oil to the gasket of the new filter and fill the filter element with oil. And install the new oil filter on the filter element base. After the sealing gasket contacts the mounting base. Tighten 1/2 to 3/4 circle with a special tool. Clean the installation surface of the drain plug and reinstall it. Open the filler cap. Refuel lubricating oil according to the oil grade and specification requirement. Stop the loader on the flat ground. Start the diesel engine and stop it after running for 3 minutes. Leave the loader stationary for 5 minutes to allow sufficient time for the oil to flow back to the oil pan. Check the oil dipstick of the engine. The oil level should be in the middle of the upper and lower engraved lines on the dipstick. The first maintenance of the new machine is at 50 working hours. Need to replace the engine oil and engine oil filter. Every 250 hours thereafter. Need to replace the engine oil and engine oil filter. 20 W/50 ch for engine oil is recommended for routine use. If the ambient temperature is above -10 degrees Celsius. 20 W/50 ch for oil is more suitable for engine start and to ensure sufficient oil supply. In severe cold regions. If the diesel engine always works at the ambient temperature below -10 degrees Celsius and there are no thermal insulation measures after the diesel engine stops running. Low temperature resistant 5 W/30 ch for engine lubricating oil is a better choice. Each wheel loader consumes 24 L this kind of engine oil. Periodic maintenance for transmission system. First maintenance for a new vehicle, 100 hours. Replace transmission oil. Replace the transmission filter with a new one. Subsequent maintenance, every 500 hours. Replace transmission oil and filter. For ambient temperatures between -15 degrees Celsius and 40 degrees Celsius, Mobile Delvac 1300 SAE 15W/40 API-CF for engine oil should be used. Transmission oil capacity, 35 L. Check oil level. Start the engine and let it idle at approximately 1000 R/min. When the oil temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius, the oil level should be between the middle and lower scale marks. When the oil temperature reaches the operating temperature of 80 degrees Celsius, let the engine idle for about 2 minutes. At this point, the oil level should be between the middle and upper scale marks. Periodic maintenance for hydraulic system. Dismantle the inlet and return oil filter element and clean them with diesel. Check the sealing rings and connection joints to prevent air leakage when reinstalling the inlet and return oil filter element. When installing the inlet and return oil filter element of the hydraulic oil tank, pay attention to see if there are metal impurities or foreign bodies. The first maintenance of the new machine is at 50 working hours. Need cleaning the inlet and return oil filter element. Every 500 hours thereafter. Need to be replaced the inlet and return oil filter element. Check the hydraulic oil level every 50 hours. Every 1000 hours thereafter, need to change hydraulic oil. Each loader needs 220L hydraulic oil. Number 46 anti-wear hydraulic oil is recommended for summer. Number 32 anti-wear hydraulic oil is recommended for winter. Periodic maintenance for drive axle. Drain off the gear oil of front and rear drive axle. Clean the debris and contaminations off the axle case. Add gear oil until it overflows from the oil filler bolt hole on the side of the axle case. Turn the oil drain bolt on the hub reduction gear of the drive axle to the lowest position. Remove the drain bolt and filler bolt. After the gear oil is completely drained, tighten the bolt. Add gear oil at the filler port, and tighten the bolt when the oil flows out. The first maintenance of the new machine is the at 100 working hours. Need to be replaced the gear oil. Every 1000 hours thereafter, need to change gear oil. Each loader needs 54L gear oil. For drive axle and hub reduction gear, 85W, 90 heavy-duty gear oil, ambient temperature, -10 to 40 degrees Celsius, is recommended. 75W, 90 heavy-duty gear oil, ambient temperature, -40 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, is recommended for applications in cold regions. Periodic maintenance for braking system. After work every day, the drain valve of the compressed air tank should be opened. Discharge water in the compressed air tank. If the water in the compressed air tank is not discharged as required, brake performance will be impacted or invalidated. Daily inspection of brake fluid oil cup liquid level. Visually check that the front and rear brake fluid oil cups are within the engraved range of the brake fluid cups. When changing brake fluid, it's necessary to vent the braking system. Press the brake pedal when the brake pressure raises to 0.6 MPa, loosen the bleed screw. Tighten the bleed screw and release the brake pedal after venting. Repeat the above steps until the brake fluid discharged from the bleed screw can be sprayed far away and does not contain air bubbles. Tighten the bleed screw, clean up the fluid spilled out, fill up the brake fluid and close the container cap. Check the brake fluid level after every 10 working hours. And fill it up if the fluid is not enough. Clean the air filter of brake pump after every 250 working hours. Every 1000 hours thereafter, need to change brake fluid. Each wheel loader needs about 1L brake fluid. Choose 719 brake fluid or DOT4 brake fluid. Notice, don't mix different kinds of brake fluid. Periodic maintenance for cooling system. Check the coolant level after the engine has cooled down. Slowly turn on the radiator cap to release internal pressure and remove the radiator cap. Keep the coolant below 10 to 15 mm of the bottom of filling port. To prevent damage to the engine. Don't add coolant while the engine is at operating temperature. Allow the engine to cool down before adding coolant. Choose suitable coolant of different freezing points according to local temperature. Generally, the freezing point of coolant is 10 degrees Celsius lower than local temperature. Periodic maintenance for electrical system. Check the tension of engine belt and generator belt. Appropriate belt flexivity is 10 to 15 mm. A too tight belt results in damage of water pump bearing and generator bearing. A too loose belt results in belt slippage, reduced working life of belt and overheat of the engine. Check the starting motor and generator for loose connector lugs. Check all the fuses inside the fuse box one by one. General fuse specification, 5A, 10A, 20A, or 30A. For maintenance-free storage battery, check the color of indicator light regularly. Green indicates sufficient battery. Black indicates that the battery is low and the battery needs to be charged. Periodic maintenance for air conditioning system. Check the tension of air condition compressor belt. Press down the belt with a force of about 98 N. The suitable lowering height of the belt is 8 to 10 mm. Visually inspect the flow of refrigerant in the sight glass of the reservoir for the presence of bubbles. The existence of bubble indicates insufficient refrigerant. No bubbles means normal. Periodic maintenance for working devices and structural parts. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the pin shaft at the front end of the boom. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the pin shaft at the rear end of the boom. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the pin shaft at the rear end of the lift cylinder and the pin shaft at the front end of the piston rod. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the pin shaft at the rear end of the dump cylinder and the pin shaft at the front end of the piston rod. After every 50 hours of work, add grease to the pin shaft of the rocker arm. After every 50 hours of work, add grease to the front and rear pins of the tie rod. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the pin shaft at the rear end of the steering cylinder and the pin shaft at the front end of the piston rod. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the upper and lower hinges. After every 250 hours of work, add additional grease to the swing frame of the rear drive axle. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the front drive shaft and the middle drive shaft. After every 50 hours of work, add additional grease to the rear transmission shaft. After every 250 hours of operation, add additional grease to the cab door hinge. After every 250 hours of work, add additional grease to the hinges of the left and right engine shield doors. Routine maintenance for drive system. After every 50 hours of work, check whether the bolts and nuts connecting the front and rear frame and the front and rear axles are missing or loose. After every 50 hours of work, check whether the connection bolts at the front drive shaft, intermediate drive shaft, and rear drive shaft are loose. After every 50 hours of work, check the gap at the middle support of the drive shaft. After every 50 hours of work, check whether the engine anchor bolts are loose. After every 50 hours of work, check whether the transmission anchor bolts are loose. Periodic check for tire pressure. Check air pressure of 4 tires after every 50 working hours. Front tire pressure, 0.33 to 0.35 MPa. Rear tire pressure, 0.28 to 0.3 MPa.